Good afternoon, and thank you all for helping with the organization. And excuse me, let me get my voice. I haven't been talking. Anyway, thank you for speaking and attending in general. Also, thank you for asking me to talk about tips for working with municipalities. I cannot tell you how much, I can't tell you much because you already know a lot, but I can tell you there are no secret incantations, and I can refresh your memory and spark ideas and offer suggestions. Let me first depict a typical scene at a municipal government meeting and what you are up against. Few folks attend municipal board or council meetings just to thank the board for doing a great job. Generally, people come with grievances, so the board is wary and not warm and welcoming. When you attend, you may feel a bit on edge, sort of like walking the plank on tiptoe. The officials look stony-faced, much like a brick wall. Never once has it occurred to them to include you in their decision-making. They assume they already have all the help they need. Mainly, they heed the recommendations of the county executive and municipal manager. They accept that having a public comment period is a necessary bow to democracy, but it is burdensome. They may be required to let you talk, but they are not required to listen or respond. An open meeting is one thing, an open mind is another. It soon becomes clear that the municipality and your group are at cross purposes. Boards frequently prioritize business interests, growing the tax base, and short-term economic progress, while environmental groups value highly protecting health and environment. It becomes apparent that you are supplicants, pleading to the board to listen to reason, your reason, and you'd better be persuasive. If your group is small, these officials have an excuse to reject your ideas because they do not represent the broader public. The wider public may not even be aware of your issues if you didn't get the word out. So even though you speak truth to power, you may be ineffective. Much depends on your leverage. You might have leverage if the board or council members are up for re-election, but often they don't care because if they know that incumbents usually get re-elected, and all too often no one wants their job, the low pay, the unappreciative and distrustful public, and the meetings that swing between boring and contentious. Not much leverage there. So how do you get leverage? Well, you could run for office, right? Or you could bring your trusty lawyer along, one who has the haunting specter of having won a slew of lawsuits. Now that affords leverage. It's hard to believe, but all too often, rationality, facts, and statistics have little impact on officials. If rationality fails, how do you influence them? What speaks boldly is strength in numbers. The sight of a crowd of energized, riled up citizens can leave board members quivering and ready to open their minds. A smattering of supporters, not so much. You need to pack the room to the rafters. But it's not easy to motivate armchair activists. Saul Alinsky-style community organizing can help bring out the multitudes. There are no shortcuts for this. The more creative the organizing techniques, the better. Wasn't it Alinsky who got activists to eat beans a while before a meeting with officials? That had an explosive impact on the officials. Or was it an urban legend? Anyway, community organizing is invaluable. And of course, to get a large turnout, you form alliances with groups that have a shared vision or common interest. Bring together all the health workers, social workers, teachers, church members, business groups, or any strange bedfellows you can muster. Don't forget, petitions still remain effective, especially in bulking up your numbers. Human interest stories about people suffering from combustible tap water may rouse the public's sympathies, but for the public to be outraged enough to storm the bastions of City Hall, they often need to feel personally affected, like when their own water supply is polluted. So help communities make that connection. If a municipality gets 5 hits on its Facebook page about one problem, the officials get alarmed, then motivated. Frequent their pages and post your ideas. Maintain your own group's Facebook pages. Social media, as we have seen, has given us new forms of participatory democracy. So exploit it fully to create more leverage. As Peter was saying, more than 1,500 towns and cities have lost 1,800 newspapers in the last 15 years. Why does this matter in this context? Newspapers give us leverage. This loss of local news coverage means less monitoring of local government. Newspapers have a reputation for holding local officials accountable. One study found that municipal borrowing and wasteful spending increases when a newspaper ceases. We must keep our local newspapers vital. So guess what? Subscribe, even if it's to the online issues. Here are some other suggestions. Do an analysis of the power structure in the local municipal government. Who are the leaders? Where are the power plays, weak spots, rifts, conflicting interests? Can you leverage the infighting? Who might be an advocate for you? Relative to this, try meeting with strategic officials individually to work your magic on them and maybe take them to lunch. It's not hard to feel paranoia and cynicism when working with this system. Minimize it as best you can. It saps your energy, wastes time, and may be unfounded. Many municipal projects are benign, not misbegotten. Maybe a new town water well is essential and not intended for bulk water sales to frackers. President Reagan gave us good advice when he said, trust but verify, and take comfort in having the Freedom of Information Act. Establish rapport with the paid municipal managers, county executives. If you succeed, it could be priceless. After all, they may understand better what you're saying than the council members, plus they do wield a lot of power. When dealing with a municipality, may also be an agency involved. If you are not making headway with one agency, look for a different ally. For example, you may be ineffective in getting the DEC to regulate industrial nitrogen to prevent toxic algae blooms, but successful in engaging the health department to deal with the related health problems. Be polite to officials to help maintain a good relationship with your city, town, or village. A public fight should be the last resort in a small community especially. The thinking here is that you may be back in front of this group in the future, and a good reputation will come in handy for what may be an even bigger battle. It's not likely we will change the system, but we can tweak the system to create a stronger democracy, direct democracy, at the municipal level. Here are some ideas. You can start by demanding that open meetings be streamed online to the public. Digital tools like e-democracy software are available to accommodate more citizen participation and voting. Officials should be required to respond and to the public comments at public meetings and hearings. Routinely, they hide behind their silence. Yet we need them to be accountable for, and their decisions should be transparent. The state does not mandate a lot of rules for municipal meetings, so there is leeway to change their procedures if citizens push them on it. Cash-strapped county governments with budgetary woes would be less tempted to sell their souls to polluting companies if the states didn't hand down so many unfunded mandates. So you could express your opposition to the unfunded mandates. If the board seems open to some of your ideas and concerned about tensions in the community, convince it to try mediation. Mediation is often free at community dispute resolution centers. Often it ends up feeling like a win-win situation for all parties. And you might not get everything you want, but you might get some of it. Some board members, like on planning boards, may be appointed. The democratic process might be better served if these positions were made elective instead. It could help reduce politicking, and the public would feel more trusting. Theresa May, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, said, quote, "We could be giving more power back to the people at the local government level through local referendums." Well, you may laugh at her statement because, the Brexit referendum has backfired so badly. However, as a form of direct democracy, albeit controversial, it may be worth pursuing. Richard Russell wrote in The Guardian, quote, "Brexit has shown how bitter and divisive referendums can be, but without them, anger bottles up and politics get stuck," end quote. It's important to encourage experiments in participatory democracy. One form of participatory budgeting. It's been implemented in 1,500 municipalities around the world. The community is invited to get involved in the budgetary process through forums, education, and hearings. This creates greater transparency and accountability. New ways are found to redistribute the money, and spending becomes more equitable. Through this, a stronger sense of community develops. In conclusion, we know the tremendous obstacles you face working within the current system. Take heart, for when you win, it's a bigger win because of how the cards are stacked against you and the battles are uphill. You are eco-athletes. You jump hurdles. Thank you very much.